of our Team Coaching Communities of Practice webinar. Today, we will be looking at team coaching, the way ahead for an emotionally intelligent team. On behalf of Agile People Ops, I, Nathaniel, your host, would like to thank you all for joining us today. This series of calls aim to provide a platform for team managers, leaders, and coaches to come together and share their experiences and learn from one another. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, these sessions usually take place every fourth Wednesday of the month. So be sure to mark your calendars. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our esteemed team coaches for today's session. The first is Hermione Joseph. She's a leadership coach, facilitative trainer, and keynote speaker with over 24 years of experience. She's dedicated to using applied neuroscience and emotional intelligence to help create thriving organizational culture and individual success stories. She's a professional certified coach through the International Coaching Federation, which represents the gold standard for professional coaching worldwide. She's certified in applied neuroscience coaching, and she uses this powerful methodology in her clients' coaching development journey to discover their noble goals. And second, we have Naveen KS. He's the co-founder of Agile People Ops, who contributed in creating Agile People Ops framework. He's also an organizer of the HR conference, People Ops Pulse, and the author of the Master Journal. He works as a consultant and coach in the US, helping organizations transform and adapt business agility. He also helps leaders and teams through his coaching and reflection skills to help them become better versions of themselves and make progress one day at a time. He loves coaching, and he went on to learn everything about coaching back in 2014, enrolling in one of the best coaching schools in the US, and holds ICF coaching certifications for the last 7 years, served as a board member on one of ICF chapters, and volunteered for over hundreds of pro bono coaching, helping individuals become better versions of themselves and grow in life. A very well welcome to our team coaches and to everyone in the audience who've joined us today. Ladies and gentlemen, feel free to clap your hands or make any reactions as I invite Hermione and Naveen to take the stage. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel. That was very kind of you. Hi, everyone. Welcome today. And this is, frankly, one of my most interesting and loved topics and of emotional intelligence. And when combined with teams, they become a absolutely potent combination, because they are actually the buzzword for today, both emotional intelligence and when we talk about teams. So yes, when we talk about it together, they are absolutely a must in our own understanding. So let's just quickly go over our understanding, of our time together today. We'll briefly talk about what is emotional intelligence, just to, refresh our understanding about it. What is the benefit of EI in as far as teams are concerned, because that's our aim. We're talking about teams coaching, so that's what we'll be talking about. And how the most critical thing for today would be to really how to go about developing this EI or more of emotional intelligence as far as teams are concerned, which will also take care of your own individual EI as a leader. And more critically speaking, as a team, how do you ensure that your team is an emotionally intelligent and developed team, right? Now, before we just go on, I would request each one of you who have joined today to look at these list of they're not really questions, they are situations or incidents that may have occurred with you or happened with you, or you can even imagine them happening with you. If you could just relate with one or more of them, and then you may like to just unmute and speak up about them, or if not, if you're not comfortable, then you could put it in the chat that yeah, you associate with this one, and any one or two emotions or something about it. Not asking you to share the event, but something that you feel about it would be really nice. These are incidents about a time that you tried to do something and failed. It could be about what your co-workers say is the most rewarding thing about working with you, about a time that you needed some help on a project. Sometimes when when there was a conflict at work, and anything even close to that. I mean, I've just tried to cover some things that were coming to me on the go, but you could even come up with things which have happened with you, and you get the gist, right? So you have all been working in corporates for quite some time, either in the position of leaders or as positions of team workers, team owners, team leaders, and some of the other thing keeps happening with us where we do have critical or life incidents which I would say keep happening in our lives. So it would be nice if you could share, or just say that yeah, this I can relate to this point. It would be really nice for you to share, unmute, or otherwise. Otherwise, of course, we can have Naveen sharing something, which in addition to that. But I would like our participants to share first, and you could even share it on the chat. Lucas, yes, it'd be nice if you could share. I see you raising your hand. And I'm really sorry for that.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. I want to share about a time that I tried to do something and failed. I was working as a administrative assistant, and I failed to load a bill on the system. I was working with bills. I was loading them in the system just as every other paper, credit notes, bills, etc. That kind of work, administrative work. And suddenly, a couple of months later, I was called and said, "Hey, you failed to load this bill, for like in that time a low sum of money, and that cost us a big sum of money." So what happened here, and that one time it was my first job. I was really nervous. I didn't take it I didn't take it lightly. I was like, no, how can I do that? No, why it happened? It was a stressful situation, and definitely after all these years, I can look back to that and say I didn't react well to that situation. And from then on, I started double checking if I loaded all the bills, all the papers, everything in the system. Well, it's a learning process.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I appreciate your sharing. And I heard you saying that you learned through the process, but I also want you to, if you can, share with me how you felt at that time about this incident, and how do you feel today? And one more question to it, because I'm curious, that are you with working with a team right now? Are you in a team, a part of it?
All right. Right now, I'm not in a team. I am looking for a job. I'm studying project management, and I am already a coach and a Scrum Master. So definitely looking forward to work with teams. That's why I love these sessions. Back then, I remember it was pressure. What I felt like all the pressure of the job that I haven't done well. Very negative emotions. I was scared about why did I do that? What will happen to me? Will I be fired? Will I have to pay for that. Those kinds of feelings, those kinds of thoughts. Sorry, too.
No, just more curious as to, and
Um,
in retrospect,
Naveen.
looking it back today, would you have liked your boss to handle it differently?
Oh, actually, I have nothing to ask for from my boss. My boss came with a very good way. Also, like they weren't challenging me. Like they only informed me that this happened. So I honestly, looking back to it, I will say it was a good management from them. So I have nothing to ask from, nothing to improve from my boss in that.
From your point of view.
But looking in retrospective to my own feelings, I know I know today I could have handled it differently. Accept my error, improve from there, and well, that's after doing all that, all the emotional intelligence practices, knowledge, etc. After absorbing all that.
Thank you for sharing. And once again, let me compliment you on your emotional intelligence, because it's not easy to be vulnerable to share. Firstly, when you are talking to a group and sharing about an incident that has happened where you make a mistake, and then also reflecting upon it as a very positive, in a positive way, and making sure that okay, that you are, what you're taking away from it in a very, very positive and a way that what you would like to do in the future. So that's a big, big sign of emotional intelligence, I would say. So a lot of credit to you for that, and thank you for sharing once again.
Thanks to you.
Anybody else would like to share on either in chat or in person? And we would leave this conversation open. So feel free to just put it on the chat, even if you're moving on, if you're moving on to some other topics, because this is the heart of the matter. This is, as you would have realized, is where we are coming to, that where what we're talking about. This is not about technical skills that we're talking about today, that how much do you know in your work in terms of your expertise. We're talking about how much are you being human, let's put it in a very simple way, about your emotions. How much do you know about your own emotions, your own feelings, and of the feelings of the people that you work with, which does not really mean, I'll clarify a few myths about emotional intelligence in just a little bit of time. But first, let's just move on. Uh, Very simply speaking, emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize, feel, and control your emotions, and understand where these emotions are coming from and what they're telling you, just like Lucas shared with us right now. And it also means that you can also recognize the emotional wants of people around you. So it's not only just about yourself, but it's also people about who are working for you, obviously your loved ones, things like that, which are probably a bit more simpler because you meet them and you know them socially also, but also about your workplace colleagues and the needs of others, and respond appropriately. And so, simply put, it determines your self awareness about yourself and your people skills with others. And a lot of work is being done in this field, as I said right in the beginning. If you're curious, you can just easily open up the internet and you'll have a plethora of information. And if you want, you can reach back to me or to the team, and we can suggest you appropriate resources to really work to study about EI and working with teams. Uh, now, we won't get into the detail of this because we are talking more in specific about teams, but very simply put, there are 5 components. To start with, it's self-awareness. If you're aware of yourself, it starts with the self. If you have to be really aware of your own self, your own feelings, what they mean to you, and when what they mean to you means also how you tend to regulate them, how you're motivated intrinsically, what motivates you, what is the empathy levels you have. Remember, it's empathy, not sympathy. We're not pitying others, we're not making fun of others, we're not making them feel small. We are empathizing with people. That means we are more or less being in the same shoes with them and understanding if they're going through something, then what would it really feel. And of course, our social skills, which is which we, without saying, we know how important it becomes at the workplace, especially as you climb up the corporate ladder, especially as you take up leadership responsibilities. We need to have that, let's call that polish, or that social skill, which is beyond a point genuine. That's what we meant by empathy. We are not looking at people and just giving them lip service and telling them that what we feel, and I should feel so bad for you, oh, that must have been bad. Very often we don't understand this, but people do make out what is coming to them. Is it real or is it artificial? Because our brain is very quick at attunement. It's called attunement, and we can make out very quickly if we are paying attention. And these are some of the components of EI. More specifically, as I said, self-awareness is your ability to recognize your own emotions, and how they affect your thoughts, your behaviors. And it is the bedrock or the foundation of EI, because if you don't start with yourself and you quickly start saying that, what I need to do is, I need to really study my team, I need to look at them and study their behaviors, I need to see, why is John behaving in a particular way, why is Matthew not taking work seriously. You may be able to do it in a particular way, but unless you have started with yourself, trust me, it can become very difficult to just start studying other people's behaviors. And we'll come to why that really happens also. And as I shared, empathy is again also, once you have done self-awareness, it's not once you've done, sorry, it's a continuous process. So while you're in the journey of your own self-awareness, you will also gradually become better at understanding the cues that people give to you, because you're starting to understand we are all humans. So more or less we are giving the same social cues to ourselves as we do to others. So it's like a mirror. When I look at the mirror, I look at my own expressions and I say, oh, I'm confused. So I know I'm confused. If I look at somebody's face, I can make out they're confused, or they're angry, they're irritated. Where do you get that from? Because you've understood yourself, you've understood your own map, so to speak, and thereby you are responding to others also with the same information. It's like a vocabulary you build of emotions. And it's a very important part of EI, which is your empathy in building relationships. Now, before we move on, I just want to clarify, which I said earlier, that what EI is not. And it's a very, very important thing to understand. So firstly, this whole thing that comes, especially in the times that I was growing up, that when an EI came into the picture, that EI was understood to be very emotional. That, okay, people with strong IQ, that is intelligence quotient, IQ, are supposed to be those brainy, practical kind of people who take no nonsense, and they are very, very left-brained, so to speak. And there are these people who are very, very emotional, sensitive, hyper, and they are the people who are good with EI and good with EQ, and they are so-called right brain. Please understand that it is an absolute myth. This is absolute, let me use the word, I'm being strong, it's nonsense. Brain science has developed so much, and calling myself a neuroscience coach, at least I want to give myself this much credit, that this much I've understood, that there is nothing like a left-brained person or a right-brained person. We have dominant traits, and that makes what people call us left brain or right brain. But every human being uses all most of their brain, all their part of the brain. You'd be not a functioning human being if you're not using your brain, because the right part controls the left part of the body and the left part controls the right. If that logic was true, then the right brain people wouldn't be able to control the left part of their body also. So on its outset only, it sounds very illogical. What they mean to say is that some people have this tendency to be more practical. It could be for different reasons. Your conditioning would be such, thousands of reasons for that. We are not getting into that right now. And EI is not about being a very emotional person. Okay, it's not about being overly emotional. That, oh my God, I feel so sad for this person. So you see, my boss is very emotional. That's why the EI must be very high. The EI must be high, which is good, but they're being emotional about a particular thing does not make them somebody who's It's not that bad nor good. It is two very different things. Okay, so it's not about being overly emotional, not letting your emotions control you. It is genuinely about understanding and managing. The managing is the key word. If you're managing, then how can you be over? Again, contradictory. So please understand this difference. It will help you in understanding it in the correct way and not going on a myth that, oh, I'm a very practical person, I don't have time to develop my EI, because that's not my baby. So that's not where you're going in the right direction. And the second part of it, it's not about pretending to be happy all the time. You are not a positive pill. You're not somebody who's been given a pill in the morning, happiness dose, and say, okay, now go and smile all the day. That's being emotionally intelligent. Certainly not. I mean, if I claim that I have a decent amount of EI, I am not somebody who smiles all the day, far from it. Or even other people who have seen who are very emotionally intelligent, they don't smile all the time. They are not happy all the time. I have seen them in their element, and which is far from being happy. They may be taking their problems in a constructive, in a manner where they are able to solve them with EI, but definitely they are not sitting there and laughing about, hey, I have a problem, ha ha ha, I have a problem, so because I have high EI. That's not EI, right? It's not pretending to be happy when you're not. In fact, on the contrary, it is about telling yourself loud and clear, right now, I am upset. That's the first thing, which I'll tell you later, how to really, work within EI. It is about acknowledging what you feel and really being honest about it. It's the first step towards being emotionally intelligent. Something in the chat that I have missed? Yeah, be honest with your feelings. Absolutely, Lucas. Absolutely. It is a must. If you're not honest with yourself, then God help you, and it becomes. And obviously the lack of, let's talk about something that's, if now let's come to teams. If you are not being emotionally intelligent, I think I missed a slide, sorry. Yeah, no, I haven't. Okay, no, okay, let's now quickly come to teams, because that's what we're talking about here today, although there's loads of stuff that we could have talked about in terms of EI in general. But when you're talking about teams, look at it this way. You are aware of your own feelings. You're aware of your own emotions. You're aware of people around you. You're getting the knack of understanding what is really going on. Obviously, there'll be better communication. You're getting the gist of verbal and non-verbal communication. You're able to make that rapport with people, which takes a lot out of people. The best of leaders, and I'm saying that with some amount of experience, the best of people are not able to have good communication because they are not EI savvy. They are not able to catch the rhythm of the conversation, and they're going in different tangents. And that's dangerous. You know, uh, Observe political leaders sometimes. They have a very tough job in their hand, and you will find that, with due respect to them, some of them, their EI is in question. So you would find a lot of things to talk about there. Or notice some of the best leaders in the world, how they manage conversations. It's not so much as how much they know, but it's how much they make the other person feel a part of the conversations, that they can strike such big deals, such big projects, because they're making people feel worth their while. So because they're able to understand the hidden and the not so obvious cues that a person is giving you. Building on to trust and collaboration, I think, again, a very, very important point, especially when talking about teams, leadership, our capacities as team leaders, as team owners, as people who are in the business of leading and working with people every single day. You can replace technology, you can replace machines, if you are thinking about replacing people, the next person who will come will also be a human being. If that person is human being, the person will have emotions. If the person will have emotions, they will want to, somewhere it will come out. You have to have the ability to understand people's emotions and how they are working with you. And obviously, these kind of teams will work with higher productivity. You're working with trust, you're working with better communication, you are communicating what you need, how you need, when you need. You will be able to work as a team, as a cohesive unit. I mean, of course, there are other things, but this is also a great thing to have. And I think the reverse is also true. That was the other slide, which was that if you don't have it, you're going to get into conflicts. You're not understanding each other's language. It's as simple as that. Sometimes we are in a room and I'm speaking Chinese, the person is speaking Chinese, I'm speaking English or maybe Hindi, and I have no clue what they're saying. And this has happened to me, but the person smiled at me, and she smiled and I smiled back. And with her hand gesture, she said something. She asked me to sit down, and she pointed to a cup of tea which was sitting there close by, and I picked it up and we started a conversation. And by the end of 15 minutes, when the interpreter really came up, we were already in a rapport. We were already in a place where we had communicated a lot. So it didn't take us more than 10 minutes with the interpreter to really close our deal, because it was an important project that I was to get. So it was intimidating to me that how would I even do this, because I don't even understand the language. But at the end of the day, I realized that we humans have a lot more ways that we can communicate with each other, and it was it was not as difficult, and EI helped me there. So you do try, and how do you try, Monica? I'd be pretty curious with that. What did I miss out here? Uh, are you saying that you tried to be honest with your feelings, or something else? Do let us know.
No, there is nothing else. Just I was sending an emoji, and after Lucas was giving me a feedback, and after I gave another feedback. So this is the whole story.
I see. Emojis are a very good form of EI, I would say, especially in our digital world. Half the time, I think we are operating through our emojis only and making people understand how we are feeling and how we are, doing with them. And uh, I joke with my son about these emojis and these short forms that he uses. I mean, most of the times, what he means to tell me is not what I understand. And I smile, I laugh, and he said, but that was not funny. That was not supposed to be funny. And like, okay, so, educate me, because for my outdated knowledge, that really meant this, So I think you in this generation, you're much more affluent with these emojis, and a lot more that's happening. Because also with this kind of work that we have today, which is more or less hybrid, and you're working from all corners of the world, I think you have a lot to rely on using AI and emojis, and a lot more for your emotional intelligence, because you're not really sitting face to face with each other. Of course, you have video and all that. Yeah, so points to be noted there. Now
Not
let's
only
come to
emojis, actually, even the language nowadays, the Gen Z as well as the millennials use, the English language is changed. It's not picture, Picture. They sometimes write PIC or PIK, and
Yeah,
there's a new language is popping up. The text culture, right? The text culture where the language
I
itself is
agree.
changed. It's a
I
mix of
agree.
emojis. LOL stands for laughing out loud. All of these things are developing into a new language. And I also have a similar challenge when I talk to my teenager son, actually. He also comes up with all these new short forms. But
Yeah.
but these are the languages which the teenagers, in our case, if I try to compare it in the team environment, it's quite different when the team members are talking to each other. They have their own way of communicating. But when it comes to talking to a leader or a manager, the level of communication is different. The mode of a communication is different. The simplicity is also been offered by the team members. But as a team coach, right, knowing those two nuances makes you a better coach in the team environment. It same goes with the child also, right? The child behaves differently in a home, and the child behaves differently when he's outside. So same thing with the team also. The team behaves when they are communicating among themselves in a normal casual setting at the coffee machine, as compared to when they are in a very formal in a meeting room, and then there are leaders. I see Lucas hand up. Yes, go ahead, Lucas. You have any question?
Not a question, but I want to add something to what you said. This about this differentiation between team members, how they talk with themselves and how they talk to a leader. In Agile, I believe if we get our team members to talk to us like another part of the team, like any other member of the team, that's a win. If we get to a point of being a leader that's inside the team so much that they talk to us not as a leader but as part of the team, I believe that's the goal of being a leader in actual well, not in actual market, but that's what I'm aiming for.
No, you're right actually, but it depends upon the amount of a psychological safety the leader creates in a team environment. If there is a higher psychological safety, the team members believe his manager / leader as a friend or just another team member. That's why today's organizations are facing a huge challenge when they want to become, from a structural point of view, lean. Earlier, there used to be a team lead, then there used to be a project lead, then is a project manager. Now we don't have all of this. In the Agile and Scrum, there's just a Scrum Master. And everybody is kind of playing a different role and then step up and step down based on the needs of the project, basically. Earlier, it was more formal. So Agile is trying to break that silos, but they have reached a place where now the leader needs to start acting, basically. The leader needs to become more of a servant leader. The leader needs to develop his or her self-awareness. The leader needs to become part of the team, but it's a human challenge. It will take another 25 years for the organizations to become more linear and a more unified one. And I'm curious to look forward the future. But yes, in today's current industry, there's a huge gap. There's another thing I want to tell you why, Lucas, I brought this point is today's industries are also facing the challenges of multi-generational workforce. In the same team, you would find a 25-year-old person working shoulder to shoulder with a 50-year-old guy. And in between, there are different generations, right? And there's a beautiful research done by us, the future of workforce. You should download that and read that specific section. So we still have those challenges, and it would take another at least 2 generations to go over that hump where the elders are still working. People who are 60, 65, I know them, they are still part of the workforce actually. It would take time. And then the AI machine learning is popping up. There are a lot of things which is impacting today's organization, and it would settle down, I think, maybe in 20, 25 years. I'm sorry, Himani, just we may going a little bit tangent, so I'm going to give you back
No, I don't think we're going tangent at all. In fact, I would want to add to that, just like while you were speaking, I remember doing a session with the same group about, the many roles managers play today, team leaders play today. And one of them, of course, so it's like, okay, and when you said that when teams go to the team leader or the manager, then they are different. And that can be easily, not that easily, but that can be taken care of by one of the roles the managers plays, which is of a coach. And that's exactly what we're talking about out here, in our entire concept. When we play the role of a team coach, or the leader plays the role of a coach, you're not you're not behaving like your typical manager leader kind of this thing, and you're not having that thing attitude where people are not okay with speaking with you. Of course, you have to define your role and you have to wear your coach's hat and say, okay, right now we are working as a coach. I'm working as your coach, and you would have probably the best opportunity to be able to not only open up with your members as one of the members of a team, and they would have the opportunity to talk to you as for whatever they do. And that's such a beautiful role toggling that today's manager has. And I believe that a successful manager or leader, if they can toggle those hats, those many hats that they need to play, manager, leader, mentor, coach, sometimes even trainer, and a process manager, and whatever else they need to, they it goes beautifully in their whole rhythm of things. Yes, it takes a little practice. Yes, it takes a little bit of training, I would say. And that's why we are here, and that's why we do these sessions also, and these courses also. But once you have that knack, and if you have EI, you double it up with your EI skills, you are on a roll. I mean, there is nothing stopping you from becoming the kind of leader that today's world really needs. Yeah, Lucas, the different leadership hats, adapting to what the team needs at the moment is a challenge, but it can be very rewarding. It can be very rewarding. It is what is the need of the hour. It is adaptive leadership. It is situational leadership, and it is a whole lot to do with what every team, every organization is asking for. And that's why when I started by this session, I said that team coaching and emotional intelligence is the buzzword today. All organizations are not asking for people with that much of IQ or expertise. If you have passed out from a premier institute, they know that you have it in you to be able to do what it takes to be able to do a job. And 100,000 people will pass out with the same degree. What makes you different? What are the qualities that you have which other people do not have? It is these qualities, it is these skills, it is this EI, and in this leadership that will make you stand out. And you will need to develop this. It doesn't come to you by birth. It doesn't come to you because you're born with certain skills. That's a myth that we have, that leaders are born, not made. Absolutely not. These are learnable skills, absolutely learnable. In this time, in this age, as the younger generation, you should be running after these skills. That, okay, I want to develop them. Yes, Kaveri, please share.
Hello, everyone. I just joined in a little bit late because somehow I was figuring out the link to the meeting, but it's a beautiful concept that I personally resonate a lot with. So I had to just point out something. And my question is, since you were on the path of explaining that these are the skills that will be most sought after in the coming times, and people can develop them, is by any chance, is there a possibility that for some it is not possible?
It's a very good question, Kaveri. Thank you for the question indeed. Well, I'm not saying this as an optimist, but I'm saying this as a realist after having studied for so many years. I don't think there's anybody for whom it's not possible, but there is a possibility that I may resist it because my tendencies as a person, or my conditioning, my background, or even sometimes let's say my job description at the moment does not allow me to flex myself in the way that I would want to. And that could be one reason, that my current situation is not allowing me to flex as much, and I need to demonstrate a side of me that is not showing that. That's one. The second could be that my conditioning of where I'm coming from, my family background, the way I have been born and brought up, my values are not syncing with what I hear all the while, that okay, this needs to be, you should understand people's feelings and emotions and need to be in cognizance with that. Or thirdly, as we just spoke about a little earlier, I don't know whether you were there at that time, that people operate with a lot of myths about emotional intelligence and about this concept. I may be under the impression that if I appear to be too emotional or show that side of myself, then I'll be called very sensitive, I'll be called an overly emotional person, I may not be called practical, and that may be detrimental for my career growth and things like that. But that's not true at all. And especially in today's world, we do understand the difference between it. So I do feel that everybody is coachable. And unless you're resisting it for your own reasons, which you know best, and those two can be uncovered. And but other than that, we all do have the capability, at least, and the capacity to develop EI. That's what I would say.
I would also add one more point. Beautifully said, Himani. Thank you. I would also add one more thing, actually, that even if you're working on a team environment, recognizing the emotions of other person who needs coaching or who is coachable and helping him or her to seek that help or provide some kind of a help so that he or she can get some help to develop that emotional intelligence is also will be a skill in future. Because we will continue to work in a team environment going forward. The more and more the machine seeps in, the machine languages, the AI, we will continue to work in that environment where we need to collaborate basically. Yes, go ahead. I think you have another question, Kaveri.
Yes, it automatically led to me to imagine that could there be some barriers in the sense that when should a leader, how or when should a leader protect themselves from the various emotions that are surrounding them? Because of course it could be it could be empowering and it could be overwhelming. There could be there could be so many emotions that a person can be going through as a leader as well. A part of it is obviously their own very responsibilities, right? But then how do we as emotionally intelligent or inclined individuals protect ourselves? Thank you.
Let's do a mini coaching session here. Did you travel in aeroplane anytime? Did you took any flights?
I was working for airlines for 17 years.
Excellent. It's just how, universe helps us to define example now. So if you are flying in aeroplane and you're sitting and a passenger next to you develops some kind of a sickness, as a passenger next to him or her, what you would do?
Give them an air sickness bag.
Okay, you can provide support, right? Now
Right.
let me add a complexity. The plane itself is going through turbulence, and
Right.
the passenger next to is also having some problems, and then the oxygen marks are down. In that case, what you will do?
Well, they should be donning their oxygen mask if the oxygen mask has dropped down, because they will be in a panic attack.
Right.
So
Hmm.
so they should be donning their oxygen mask, and I should be donning mine, and I should calm them down. This is a very safety-oriented question, so
Right,
my
safety-oriented question.
answer,
But
yes,
yeah, but who will don the oxygen mask first? Before you put your
Before-
oxygen mask first, or you help the passenger next to you first?
mine first, because I could go incapacitated first.
Okay. So there are two scenarios, right? In
Right.
one scenario, there is no turbulence, there is no oxygen masks are down, right? So you help him or her who's next to you. But in a situation when everyone is in trouble, so you first put your own oxygen mask before you start helping someone else.
Naveen, thank you so much. I would never forget this example.
Thank you. I think you were able to play it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. So if anybody has else questions, we can take it. I'll give it back to you, Himani. Sorry. Thank you.
Sure, no, thank you so much. That was a wonderful example, and I think it really helped her and us as well. And I think also in the very word emotional intelligence, it really means this only, that emotional intelligence is, the word leans towards being understanding of emotions and all that, but it also means the definition also has manage, the word manage. The managing part is, I think, more crucial than the emotion part of it. How we manage our emotions with ourselves also. Like even if I get into an emotional hijack, I'm not helping myself. And similarly, if my team is also getting into a hijack, I'm not helping them or myself. And to your question of protecting, I think the example is beautiful. You will first protect yourself. You will wear your insulation. Even as, let's look at a practical example, you will wear your insulation in terms of the fact that you will be ready for the fact that my team is very charged up today. I know there is a storm brewing. I am self-aware enough to understand my own feelings. So I've centered myself, I've calmed myself, I've given myself grounding, and I'm ready for the outrage. Having said that, I'm responsible for managing myself first and then taking care of whatever is coming my way. because I am responsible for the team as well. So that's a double role that you're playing, but while taking care of yourself as well, because you don't want to burn yourself, and you certainly don't want to, hurt your own, mental peace and sanity. So having said that, let's move to some very, very actionable steps for a team leader. Goes equally well for a team member or anybody who's involved with teams at a level where you're working most of the time with a team. And even on an individual scale, as I said right in the beginning, that everything that we talk about teams, it first begins with your own self as a leader, manager, individual. So the first is no surprise, because we've been talking about it since that session started. But I mean, it is the most important. Like, if you don't really know about yourself, it is the most aware. People who are self-aware, I understand my own thought process. I understand what triggers me. I understand my emotions. I'm usually more grounded. I'm usually more calm. And these kind of, these upsets, something is coming my way also, like this bomb is coming, this whole tsunami is coming my way. I will first ground myself. I will understand. I know my triggers. So let me first, equip myself and see what is really coming my way. And also, as I said, how people's actions affect me. If I begin to understand that, and a very simple method, which I will just, share in a minute, is that, of course, you can develop an awareness of how your feelings and triggers drive your behavior. And this goes for you also, that your team members, of course, you can encourage them to keep a daily journal. It's not about writing a diary, so there's a difference. You don't have to write a detailed account for the day went in the morning, I had my breakfast, I had cornflakes in breakfast, and I went on and blah blah blah. You just need to write some key emotions, what you felt in your day. This process is called labeling. All you need to do is label your emotions as specifically as you possibly can. Like, today I felt annoyed, angry, and slowly start increasing your vocabulary. There are some very, very basic vocabulary wheels available on the internet, very basic ones. Just type vocabulary wheel and you will find them. Even if you can't do that in the beginning, what you know the words, just use them only, and slowly start expanding your vocabulary. Now, in the brain science of it, it helps in a way where the moment you name it, you tame it, right? This is scientifically brain-wise proved. The moment I say I'm feeling angry, annoyed, it triggers a part of the brain which goes into the where language is, and labeling helps you to kind of settle the emotion to a large extent. That's why we say that write it down, and preferably on with a piece of pen and paper, not on your keyboard and everything. It somehow doesn't do the same effect as pen and paper does. But even if you don't have a pen and paper, do it on your laptop, on your pads, or on your phones, or whatever notes. That's also fine, because something is better than nothing. But keep that journal for the day. Whenever you're feeling an emotion, just put the keyword there. That's all you need to do. Frustrated, angry, loved, happy, sad, joyful, curious, surprised, amazed, whatever it is. You keep expanding your vocabulary. Your brain is getting more emotionally friendly to not only yourself, but to really to be attuned to the situation, and you'll feel yourself calmer in the moment, right there, standing there, right there, right now. And it's a proven technique. Label your emotions, to name it, to tame it, right? Daniel Goldman, all the credit goes to him, for just even 2-3 minutes a day, 1 minute a day, 2 minutes a day, and you will be certainly going a good thing for yourself. You can also, help your team members by asking, when you have open dialogues, you ask them their opinions about decisions. A lot of feelings come out when you ask people, what's your opinion on this decision? When you're not saying what are you saying, what is your factual interpretation on this decision. You're asking about opinions. Opinions are always beliefs. Beliefs are based on assumptions. Assumptions are based on biases. Biases come from your feelings. So feelings when you ask people how they feel about something, then a lot of their emotions come out, especially for quieter people. If you have a cup of coffee with somebody who's relatively quiet and say, how did you feel about that policy that's come out? And you'll find them speaking. You'll find them speaking. Yeah, this is what I feel. That is what I feel. You know, it may take you time. It may take about 5 minutes, but you'll find them speaking about their feelings. And it will tell you a lot about who they are. And yeah, it's also important to talk about difficult situations and some changes happen in the company, in your teams. You know, what did you feel about that change? What's really coming? What impacted you? What is the feelings that are coming? What are the undercurrents? Again, if you use a coaching approach, they will come out to you very quickly. You may not get them out with a leadership team meeting and get everybody together and say, okay, this has happened now. What do you guys feel about it? Anything you want to say? Everything is good? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. It was good talking to you. It won't come out like that. So you have to have a good exercise, like a coaching exercise, a fishbowl exercise, people giving feedback to each other. With this change, how is our work going to become better or worse? You know, one-to-one, pairs, or people, and then each one giving feedback, feed forward to the other. So there are various such exercises. Please feel free to reach out or read more. And of course, you know, in team coaching courses, we talk a whole lot about these, you know, these techniques. They can take place informally over lunch, one-to-one, small groups meetings, things like that. The second is, of course, we talked about in the beginning, what is empathy, how it's different from sympathy, and perspective taking. You know, we will when in teams, it is an extremely important attribute, because you know, when sometimes if people get upset, then in teams it's very difficult to make out if you're just having these, you know, obligatory team meetings, because you, again, if you just find out on surface all well, you will rarely find people just speaking up and say, no, all is not well, I don't feel good about this. You know, you have to have those kind of questions. Again, a coaching approach, you know, works wonders. How is this different from earlier? What differences may we see in the future? How is this affecting us at a level where, if you know, 1 month from now, what do you see? So, you know, things like these, which we are not really talking about in everyday conversations. So let's put a simple example. In 5 minutes of a meeting in an organization I work for, the last 5 minutes they have kept for complaints and frustrations. They have a box there, and they speak it out, and they put the chit there, and they say, okay, this is my peeve, my groan, my peeve for the day, and they just put it there. Or they have, in one organization, they have signs. They have a green sign if they're feeling happy, and a red sign if they're saying that something is triggering somebody, and they say, is something triggering somebody, and some people just put up the red flag, you know, and they take it up if they have to, and if they can't take it up, they make sure that they go back to the person later, that you had something, a groan factor, what is it that you're talking about? And you can keep this lighthearted, you know, because sometimes groans can go on and on. So you can keep a stopwatch and say, hey, we've got 5 minutes. 5 minutes, all the groans of the world can come out, all the peeves can come out, and you know, and then we can go back to action time. We can go to other things also. So we've talked about this. They would have communication skills, you know, also spend a little time in observing people's body language. Teach your team members that, learn how to observe body language. It's not difficult at all, and it definitely helps people. And like I just said, give your team venting avenues. You know, you could have a vent box, you could have a vent corner, you could have a venting hour, you could have a venting tea break, whatever works for you. You know, it really works, because emotions on the negative side, if they're held back, they cause a lot of damage to productivity, to turnover, to bigger things, which we don't really understand, but they are the things that are causing the higher damage. And one of the things that we do talk about in EI and in teams, of course, is that, you know, it is, while emotional intelligence is not positive thinking, but the ability to think positively, it is a big factor in EI, which really means that I am able to come up with constructive options when held against the storm. That you can, when people are sabotaging themselves, or people are saying there's no solution, as an EI, as a person who has high EI, I can go to them and say, look, I think we need to think more. We need to explore more. We haven't explored everything yet. Let's talk about it. Maybe we can come up with something. So there you become the torch bearer for people. So it's not that you're ignoring the bad news. It's not even that you're avoiding issues. It just means that, again, you label the bad news. You say, okay, yes, we have a problem. We label it, we have a problem, and then rationally we go on deciding how to handle it. And in a situation like we talk about appreciative inquiry or other methods, we search for the good in each situation and we say, okay, like Lucas said right in the beginning, and that's why I appreciated him. That was an excellent example of appreciative inquiry, that he learned what his mistake was. He learned the good in that situation, that, okay, this is an opportunity for me to learn. And he learned from his mistakes, and he was not being finger pointing at anybody that because of them this happened and that happened. He just learned from his own mistake and moved on. And the next part of, in teams, which we see very often, is conflicts. And we can't call them very positive, or nobody likes them. But then again, when we talk about a term called constructive conflicts, if we give people space to really argue with each other or debate with each other, we are actually fostering, with good EI, we are fostering camaraderie, we are reducing group thinking. People ending up thinking the same. Why? Because they don't want conflict. They don't want to argue with each other. They think they are being very nice and pally with each other, but actually nobody's happy, because everybody is just following the leader and following somebody who they don't even want to trust in. So what's the point? So therefore, when we are emotionally intelligent as a leader, I encourage people to say that, okay, green ideas can come here, red ideas can come here, orange ideas can come here. And we can all think differently. It's okay to think differently, and then converge, because you need to take a decision. That's fine, but you are taking it in a way that you're encouraging people to speak up. And that's what Naveen was talking about when we talk about psychological safety. It takes courage to build psychological safety, because it allows you to go against the norm and still feel safe in that workplace. And and that would be, again, you would be the role model, because if you're transparent, you're reliable, you're accountable, it obviously means that people would be able to trust you and lean on you, and which begins a lot with developing the qualities where you know yourself, you know your strengths, you know your development areas, you're willing to label your emotions, and you're willing to think that, yes, I'm not perfect, nor are the people that I work with, but let's leverage on the strengths that we have so that we can build a brilliant team together. And one thing that is really important is that, as I was just saying, that each team member will have different strengths, different areas of development, and they'll also think differently about themselves. And human beings have a capacity to think that they are higher on a scale than they really are. This is all our qualities. I may think to be a good public speaker, but I may think myself to be better than I actually am. And I need feed forward to be for somebody to tell me actually how I am. But that requires courage. And that courage comes from when I have trust with my team. And that trust comes from when I'm a person with high EI who's able to communicate all this with emotional intelligence. So therefore, what I can do is help people to discover their own strengths, their own weaknesses. We can do a SWOT analysis. We can do lots of things for doing that. And then we help people to set their specific goals so that they can work upon their development areas. And that's how we help people to develop further. And of course, we talked about constructive feedback, but we have to be careful with certain people, because again, people can take it negatively, and especially people who are learning EI may take time or may take offense. So we have to be a bit sensitive about those people. So these couple of these things, like learning goals and conflict management and self-awareness and building optimism. Some of these are places which are actionable items that you can do on an everyday basis with your teams. This is what I had to share today, and we are open for any questions, observations that you may have, or any other incidents that you would want to share of your own teams. That thing is still open. And thank you so much for your time and your participation today. It was really very encouraging. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for participation. It was good to see so many contributions from everyone, and great session, Himani. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Kaveri, yes, definitely. Please share. We can wait a moment. Kaveri has a question or an observation. Yes, ma'am. Please carry on.
Thank you, Himani. So I was wondering that we have so many good concepts, and of course, everyone is moving towards the positive direction. And yet there are, I could probably say there are big companies who are resisting this change because there is so much to do. And of course, people are, the concept is good, and somewhere everyone knows it'll be so, everyone is relating to it. I also feel that people who are making decisions, they are somewhere frustrated, either or not getting their support from the people above them, or some resistance from the people below them, and then they are sort of lonely. Wondering how could this change be somewhere. I think I heard the figure 25 years down the line from Naveen, and then you were expecting that, okay, that there could be a possibility that it might take so much time. But why so much of resistance, and what can we do to sort of expedite this process, because this is necessary in today's world. This how can we not think of being human and being emotional and addressing emotions?
Well, I love your question, and I love your spirit. More than that,
Thank you.
the easiest way, charity begins at home. And I mean, if you're working in a team, Kaveri, and if you are being with people, please start today. I'm sure you're already doing your bit. And if today's session has worked with you or helped you, please start building what you can, from this moment onwards. And as far as your question, I mean, I often think about it myself, and I do believe that for this change to be embedded in organizations, it has to start from top down. And it has to be in the fabric or the culture of the organization, and rather than a one-off program that the company does, or an event that the company does. It is, if I have a, supposing we talk about coaching cultures, and all these kind of culture, it is the very fabric of an organization which kind of then trickles from top to down. Why it doesn't happen as much as we'd want to is that we are, honestly speaking, if I would say, we are not adequately, let's put it this way, trained, or to be able to uh, work with what we have in front of us. First, our economies and our place, our culture, and the way we, after COVID, especially after COVID, the things that have changed so much, and has caused a huge dent the way things are, which as a result have also caused more human complexities, working from home, and also, as Naveen was talking about, multi-generational workforces. So we have a lot in our hands right now to deal with. And agreed, the change is slow, but I would say what is encouraging is the very awareness that is coming slowly but steadily, that these things are important, especially with the advent of AI and all such other things, that if we are ignoring them, we are going to be in a very, very sad reality. And I think some leaders have realized it. And I am in touch with certain thought leaders who are really doing some good work, and also some organizations who are. But I think still there are a lot of people who who have to shift from the mentality of task leadership towards, servant leadership or coaching leadership or thought leadership, towards being able to move towards that, so that more sustainable change can come in this direction. So I think it begins with, and just to share with you, we having a conference very soon, which is, next month, which is exactly on this line, where we have decided to bring coaches and leaders together to discuss exactly the question that you just asked, that if this is so important, if this is so important that organizations need people and people need organizations, then why aren't those systems being run in organizations when people can thrive in organizations and not just survive, and not just be able to kind of, just earn a livelihood, but clearly be the fabric which is really, the warp and weft of an organization. So thank you so much for your question. I wonder if I've really been able to give you an answer. All I can say, it's a work in progress, and we are the people who are kind of working in that journey so that we can do the best that we can.
A quick
That's a
addition to
conference
that,
meeting.
Himani. A quick addition to that, Himani. I would be like, if suppose the job description and if suppose the way they're hiring and releasing their vacancies, and if somehow it read emotionally inclined individuals, that would be a game changer for some reason. Instead of 12 years of experience, and then we have seen it. We have all seen it.
I so agree. And thankfully, I'm a part of certain organizations in their process of hiring, as far as, coaching and, at least the profiles that I look after. And there, of course, we do make it a point to have these qualities there. And even otherwise, there are places which have, started including these in their, in their JDs. But as I said, it's a slow process, but yes, I hope that we do see a lot of significant change happening in the near future.
Mm.
Okay, so Naveen has left, but yeah, he's shared the link of the conference. It would be wonderful if you all could join in, and also please refer a lot of people to join in the conference as well, because as I've just shared, the topics are just absolutely what we are discussing right here. And for me, I'm as passionate about it as I think I was hearing the other people in this call as well. So together, I think we can make a big difference. Yeah, please carry on. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much for this amazing session, Himani and Naveen. Thank you for sharing your wonderful insights on the dynamics of team coaching and emotional intelligence. To our fantastic audience, a huge thank you for everyone for joining us today. And we appreciate the time you have spent in participating in this informative session. You'll receive a feedback form in the chat box, and we request that you share your feedback by clicking on the link. So what's next? Next slide, please, Amani. Okay, great. So as mentioned earlier, these sessions are usually held every fourth Wednesday of the month. So our next Team Coaching Communities of Practices session is going to be on July 24th. Join our dynamic team coaches, Himani and Naveen, as they delve into the secrets of coaching a team for high performance. With industry changes happening at lightning speed, helping your team learn and grow regularly is more crucial than ever. So during this session, you get to explore what exactly a team coach does, why a team coach is vital to your team's success, the incredible benefits of coaching a team, plus 7 powerful strategies to coach a team for peak performance. To register for this transformative event, you can scan the QR code on your screen or click on the link in the chat box. Alternatively,
You can join our global community LinkedIn group to get further updates of upcoming events. Kindly scan the QR code or join using the link shared in the chat box. Additionally, we invite you to join our community platform and collaborate and engage with other passionate individuals. Join us using the link shared in the chat box or scan the QR code. We will share the recording of this session with everyone who's joined us today or who has registered, as it will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. Thank you once again and have a wonderful day ahead. With lots of gratitude, I, Nathaniel, your host, will be signing off for today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you, Hamani. Thank you for all our participants. Bye for today.
Thank you so much. Great. Thank
All right.
you.